Planning Advisory Commission the meeting to order, and please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And I would ask you, if you would please, to either silence or turn off your cell phones at this time. And as always, we're operating under different circumstances. We have some commissioners, or may have some commissioners, watching by television or YouTube, and will be forwarding questions to me via text. We have citizens calling in via phone with questions and or comments, so we ask those hearing by other means to be patient with us as we move these cases forward. The phone number is listed on the television screen or your YouTube screen, 706-225-3937. And I remind those in the audience and those that are watching by television, this is the first hearing of any rezoning, text change, or special exception request brought before us here today. We will first hear a reading of the staff report for the case by planning staff and ask the applicant to provide a brief overview of their request. We will then give the opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak for or against said request. The commissioners will have time for any needed discussion on the case. Once a motion is made and seconded by the commission, a vote will take place and a recommendation will be rendered. The case will go back to the planning department for their independent recommendation. If a favorable recommendation is given, then the case is then forwarded to City Council with the two independent recommendations. If the planning department makes a recommendation for denial, the applicant will have 10 days from the receipt of a letter stating that denial to notify the clerk of council that they are requesting to be placed on City Council's agenda. The City Council of Columbus will hold a public meeting called the first reading, and the council will consider the case, review our recommendations as well as the planning department recommendations, and then hear discussion on the matter. Council will make a final decision at a second public hearing or meeting, and that will be called the second reading. Okay, the first item on our agenda today is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, and the previous meeting was September 15th, 2021. Has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at those minutes? Any changes to be noted? Anyone? Okay. All right, we'll consider those accepted then as written. All right. We have actually two zoning cases. We had three scheduled, but case number 2, which was 424 3rd Avenue, has been canceled or delayed until another meeting, so we will not be hearing that case today. So if you're here for 424 3rd Avenue, that one has been tabled. Okay, first case is REZN 09211744. This is a request to rezone 0.88 acres of land located at 2019 Warm Springs Road. Current zoning is NC Neighborhood Commercial. Proposed zoning is GC General Commercial. The proposed use is convenience store with gas sales. Burnt Investments LL is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 8. Mr. Garrett, we'll hear from Mr. John Renfro with the staff report first, please.
Yes, sir. The general land use is consistent for planning area D. Current land use designation is general commercial. Future is general commercial. It is compatible with existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to an issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. The property is served by all city services. Average annual daily trips will decrease to 96 trips. If used for commercial use, the level of service will remain at a level B. The site shall meet the codes and regulations of CCG for commercial usage. There'll be no school impact. The site shall include a Category C buffer along all property lines bordered by the SFR3 zoning district. The three options on a Category C are 20 feet with a certain amount of canopy trees, understory trees, shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, 10 feet with a certain amount of shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, and a wood fence or masonry wall, and 30 feet undisturbed natural buffer. There's no Fort Bend recommendation, no DRI recommendation. The surrounding zoning to the north is SFR3, to the south is RO, to the east is NC, to the west is RO. 30 property owners within 300 feet of the subject property were notified of the rezoning request. The planning department received 2 calls or emails regarding the rezoning, and the 2 were in opposition.
All right, thank you, Mr. Renfro. Commissioners, y'all have any questions of Mr. Renfro regarding the staff report at this time? Anyone? And those, what were the main concerns in the opposition?
That there were gas stations within a close proximity already, and that it wouldn't actually fit the area that's currently surrounding it as NC uses right now.
Okay. All right, Mr. Dudley.
Yes, I guess I do have a question for you. As far as gas stations being in the area, there's a marathon station just up the street. Is that one closed, though, or is that one in operation?
It's currently closed.
Okay, thank you.
That was currently closed. I think that was closed prior to the widening of the road. All right. Any other questions, commissioners? Anybody? Okay. We're looking for Burnt Investments Llc. If you would please come forward and state your name and address for the record and tell us what your plans are here, please.
Good morning. May I remove the mask?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. So my name's Austin Gibson. I'm an attorney at Page Scranum, and I'm here on behalf of Burnt Investments LLC. My address is 6166 Patriot Court, Columbus, Georgia. And so I'm here on behalf of Burnt Investments LLC, who's the current owner and the applicant on this property. And that property is actually under contract to be sold to a developer, Mr. Deeren Moody. And Mr. Moody would be the one actually developing the property into what we hope would be a convenience store with gas sales. The engineers and architect on the project, Moon and Meeks, did all of the engineering work on the project. And Mr. Sudhir Patel of SP Architect LLC did the architectural work. And so as stated previously, we're here this morning for to rezone 0.88 acres on Warm Springs Road that's currently zoned as neighborhood commercial, and we'd requested it be zoned to general commercial. And as we'll discuss, the proposed use, I believe, is directly in line with the future use of Warm Springs Road. And so, as previously stated, the surrounding properties are generally RO or NC, but the NC designation could be slightly deceiving, as a lot of those properties, including the gas station you had a question about earlier, were zoned NC, but they were previously zoned C2 under the old UDO. And so some of those properties, I think if they hadn't been grandfathered in, would be required to have the GC designation that we're requesting today. And so currently, and I guess I have a PowerPoint presentation if you don't. Perfect. Thank you. And then just this slide here just kind of gives you a general overview of the area. And as you can see, the property is currently a vacant lot. And to orient you, the gas station that we're talking about is in that V between the two, a little bit to the east there. And that gas station, I believe, is closed. And then Hilton Avenue is, of course, is off picture, but to the right. And so this is an architectural rendering prepared by the architect of what the proposed convenience store would look like. As you can see, it's got a nice brick facade, and it's fairly clean and modern. And it'll also have some tree cover and things like that along it as well. And the plan is to have the convenience store, but also have a small 4-pump gas station in front of the convenience store, as you can see on this colored site plan here. And so you can see the building is back in the far right corner, and the proposed fuel canopy is right there towards the middle. And so this site plan includes buffering and all of the overlays that would be required under the UDO. And it may be difficult to see on this presentation, but in the back where it borders the residential property, we've already gone ahead and included a privacy fence and the 20-foot buffer to try and allay any concerns that the residential property may have. And as you know, Warm Springs Road is now a 4-lane major highway. It's really an additional artery into the downtown area. And I I didn't do any, I guess you'd call it scientific research, but I did drive through there trying to see what gas stations were around. And based on my, just brief drive-through, I think the nearest gas stations actually on Warm Springs Road would be down, I believe there's one right down there near Piedmont, and then there's an additional one as you get towards, Manchester Expressway and the Gentian Boulevard area. But I don't believe there's a gas station in between that area. And so we think not only would a gas station fit the current zoning there, but it would also be beneficial to the community, as it would provide a gas station right there on a major artery into the downtown area. And then finally, with respect to the public facilities and infrastructure, there wouldn't be any material adverse impact on any city utilities or anything like that. And finally, in preparing and developing this property, there would be, an increase in job impact that would be positive, as well as there would be some full-time sales positions that would add value to the community as well. And so I guess in conclusion, we believe that this rezoning request and application is appropriate, and the proposed GC zoning is consistent and compatible with Warm Springs Road, as it's now been extended into a 4-lane highway. And we believe that this development would be a real benefit to the community, and we hope that you'll consider our rezoning and agree with us. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. I do have one. What are the hours that they're planning to operate?
That is a good question, and I don't know that I have an answer to that. So I really wouldn't speculate, but I don't have an answer to that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. Dudley?
Do you know why the developer didn't just try and acquire the Marathon Station and convenience store with the existing infrastructure that's closer to Woodruff Road, Hilton Road traffic?
So my understanding is that gas station closed due to the widening of the highway, because it was no longer, I guess there was no longer space for the gas station to exist, I guess pulling in and out and all of those things. So that's my understanding, that it was no longer a usable site. I may be incorrect on that, though.
When it comes to lighting on this station, everything I'm hoping would be turned inward. You do have nursing homes right across the street, so that's a concern.
Yes, that's correct. And we would do everything we could to minimize that impact, including having all lights facing inward, so it wouldn't be a burden on anyone's window or view or anything like that.
Okay. Commissioners, anyone else have any questions? Ms. Weekly?
Yes, could you tell me if alcohol is going to be sold?
So I'm not entirely certain, but I would imagine that it would be, but I don't have a definitive answer on that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, please. And this is Mr. Patel, the architect.
Okay.
Good morning. It's a typical C-store.
Excuse me, sir. Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
I'm Sudhir Patel, architect, 4 Bradley Park Court, Suite 3B, Columbus, Georgia.
Thank you.
As I said, this is your typical C-store. You have a beer, wine sales that you expect in any other store, but nothing different than that.
You have a question? Yes, sir.
On the diagram, I only see a one-way in and out of the facility, which means that when you come in, you actually have to do a U-turn to get out from the pump. Usually that's kind of hard when somebody's behind you trying to pump their gas too. So can they be changed to the diagram to have one in, one out? Or is that set in stone?
I believe the property width is as such. It allows only one 30-foot wide curb cut. There is enough parking or space, at least 24 feet beyond the canopy, so in and out is convenient, not cumbersome. Even for fuel delivery, you come in the property, or pick up dumpster, still back out in the property or off hours and out the road. So it would not cause any undue burden on the traffic. It's in and out. That answers the question.
That answers your question.
It does, but
Okay.
it's just that if I gotta get in there and I see an inconvenience for me trying to get out, I just go to the next door.
Let's look at this, can you pull up the site plan, please?
I mean, it's your business, but
Okay, so your question was, as you pump in the gas, is there enough room around it? Is that correct?
no, I was talking about one way in and one way out. If I come in and I got my right side pump hole on my car, so I have to go, let's say, around this way behind the pump to pump my gas. And now I have to either make a U-turn to come out instead of going straight forward and get out. I got cars behind me. I might have a car in front of me. I have to wait for that car. So personally, if I'm in that situation, I just go to the next store. But that's going to be your store. I'm not trying to help you here, but I'm trying to help you.
That's right. I think what's being said is it is only going to be 4 pumps, and so you'd only have 2 on each side. So if you're on the right side, you'd be able to back out and then come around that way, or if you're on the left side, you'd be able to back out the other way and kind of come out that way as well. So hopefully there wouldn't be the kind of traffic jam that you're talking about.
What side of the pumps would your tanks be located underground?
It'll be between the canopy and the road, on the south side of the canopy.
So there would be room for the tankers to get in and out when they
Absolutely.
deposit the fuel
We've
there?
studied that.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're not accommodating the big 18-wheelers, right? You're not for that purpose there, right? The big trucks.
Yeah, the layout is as such that the 18-wheeler can get in, back out, still inside the property, and out of the property onto Warm Springs.
If I understand you.
That's for delivery of the gas, right? That's not,
Yes.
you're not expecting to sell gas
Oh,
from
no,
18-wheelers?
correct.
Ms. Brown?
I have a question, Mr. Gibson or Mr. Moody. To the left is a doctor's office, correct, of the property? Is that what that building is?
I believe it's the dentist office, yes, ma'am.
Dentist? Okay, and to the right is a realty company?
That's correct.
You didn't consider an office building for another doctor or dentist? You know, there's a nursing home across the street. There's already a medical building. Was that even a consideration?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I know in the past there were efforts to develop that property into a medical facility, but I think the size of the property and I guess the layout kind of factored into making that not really be feasible.
Okay, any other questions? Ms. Tom, Mr. Baker?
I can speak to that from a real estate standpoint. We have a lot of unused medical space in town in that area that currently is just sitting empty. So it'd be difficult to get something like that leased unless it was really, really fancy.
Well, I was just thinking because of the nursing home, the convenience, that's one.
All right, any other questions? Commissioners? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we've heard from the applicant now. We'll give the opportunity for someone to come up and speak for this case. If you will, please come forward at this time. You want to speak for the case or against the case? Okay. And no one wants to speak for it, so if you are for the against the case, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Dr. Anthony Olofetu. I happen to be the owner of the practice next to that plot. And as you have rightly stated, our plan was to extend the clinic to that plot. My objection to having that rezoning is that already it's difficult to get in and out of that street. And now, just imagine a trailer or a tank coming around there is going to be a disaster in that area because, like they said, the space is so small and the width of it is so small for that kind of a project. And already we have a bus stop that is directly opposite my practice. And when the bus stops there, to actually get in and out of that property is almost impossible. You know, then if we now have another development that is going to be in and out of that area will only undermine the prospect of further development in that area, especially related to medical practice. Like I said, we have a nursing home in front, and then widening that road actually undermine most of the spaces that we have for parking. So now, if you now have a convenience store with all that traffic, it's going to be hazardous and what they call it, accident risk in that area.
Okay, yes, sir. All right. Is there, commissioners, y'all have any questions, this gentleman? Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience like to speak against this? Yes, sir, please come forward and give your name and address for the record, please. Yes, sir.
My name is Murray Calhoun. I live at 2707 Foley Drive in Columbus, and I do own the business next to this proposal, a Row Realty Company, and we are mainly in residential property management, and so I mean, there's a lot of reasons that, I mean, the main reason, of course, I have the property next door, and I don't think it would be conducive to what we do. And we have a lot of families that are coming in and out. Our lot is not all that big either. But they're just, besides my personal interest in it, it just, to me, they're just flaws in putting a convenience store there. With 151 feet for a convenience store or gas station, to me, is pretty small. And particular if you're coming, and that new road is really nice, but coming from downtown east, if you've ridden it, if you're coming east, you come over the hill, and then if you're going to turn into this, you don't have a whole lot of warning for it unless you know it's there to decide to turn into it. And so I feel like there's not enough frontage for this to work good. But of course, you've heard Dr. O, who owns the property on the other side. Ms. Ann DeArmond, I don't know if she registered anything with you or not. She it indicated to me she manages the Springwood Apartments, which on the other side of Dr. O. And the lady, and this to me is about as compelling as you can get, but the lady that manages the nursing home across the street, I talked to her a couple of times and once yesterday, and she opposes it. I don't know whether she's here or not, but or has registered that, but she told me that she has personally in another nursing home seen a nursing home patient across from a convenience store or gas station just decide, I'm gonna go over there and get whatever I want to get. And should that happen on this 4-lane road, there could be pretty dire consequences. And even though we all need convenience stores, we all got to buy up gas, and whoever wants to can buy a lottery ticket, but it just, if you look up and down this road of doctor's offices, nursing homes, not large apartment complexes, I just don't think it fits in. And if you look at the map that you've got, as far as the colors, there's only one general commercial in the whole place, and that's down there where that beauty supply is. And it just, to me, this stretch of road, it doesn't fit in. And so, convenience stores bring a lot with it. So I'm opposed to it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Calhoun. Commissioners, do y'all have any questions? Yes, Ms. Thomas.
So hi, how you doing? You're concerned about the traffic and the safety of the people by it being so.
Well, that's one of them, and the main thing is I just don't feel like that the business that we have would benefit from late hours and a lot of lights and people coming in and out. I just don't think it's conducive to that, and I certainly understand Mr. Humphreys owns the property he has for a long time and wants to sell it, and I certainly understand that and can appreciate that being in the business I'm in. But I just don't think it's a good use. It's a very sloping lot, and there would be a lot of issues as far as trying to retain water and keeping it from coming on down the street. And then again, just from a selfish standpoint, if I ever wanted to sell, with a gas station next door, you'd have to have all kind of environmental checks and that sort of thing. So anyway, that's my case, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. Any other questions, commissioners?
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't give a time on the business hours for the convenience store, right? He said
They never addressed the hours. I did ask that, and I guess that hadn't been determined yet. I did ask that question. Is there any response to hours, possibly? No, I didn't know if you guys had come up with any type of hours for it, of operation. Okay, all right. All right.
I think the question is how long can a convenience store stay open? Because once you say something here, it doesn't mean anything.
A C-store can stay open for 24 hours.
Exactly. I mean, it can unless we put limitations on the hours of operation. So, but anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone in the audience, again, like to speak for or against this case? Please come forward to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, I'm David Humphreys, and I own the property. I've owned it a number of years, so we've looked at a number of uses, and in this particular case, Mr. Moody wants to buy the property to put the store there. Now, and I understand the concern Mr. O has and Murray have about the traffic, but I would agree with that before this road was widened. And in the widening, that was planned for. There's a nice turn lane in the middle. I know in the past, when we've had some people look at the property before the widening, that was an issue. But I think if you look at the overall plan and the traffic plan and the 18-wheeler, how it gets in and out, and the Moon Meeks did a study to make sure the traffic would work. So I think it works with the four lane now with the turn lane in the middle. So that's something that has been reviewed. Just wanted to address that. So.
All right, commissioners, y'all have any questions of Mr. Humphreys? Anyone? Mr. Baker?
I noticed on Google Maps, it doesn't show when I drive by there, but on Google, Maricopa Creek runs through and across and under the road there. Is that all underground there, or is it in a pipe by the time it gets to your lot?
As far as I know, there's no open ditch there.
Okay.
Anything toward the front. Now, on the rear, which in this case would not be developed, it
Right.
would be behind this fence. It's, so I can't answer it. It's not open anywhere on the project.
Okay, all right.
I just got a note, 6 to 11.
6 to 11,
6 in the morning to 11 at night would be hours of operation.
Okay. All right, any other questions, commissioners? Thank you, Mr. Humphries.
Thank you.
All right. I don't think there's anyone else that would like to speak for or against this case at this point unless you raise your hand. So, commissioners, I open the floor up for a motion. Please bear in mind that when you make these motions, you can put restrictions and limits on it if you wish, but the floor is open for a motion. Yes, sir.
When it comes to REZN-09-21-1744, a request to rezone 0.88 acres of land located at 2019 One Springs Road. Current zoning, neighborhood commercial, proposed zoning to general commercial. I propose this motion to be accepted with the condition of only opening from 06 to 2300 in the evening, or 11 p.m.
So you make a motion to approve?
To approve, yes.
Okay, and do we have a second? We have a second from Ms. Thomas. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Okay, and those opposed by the same? All right, we'll need a motion to deny. Someone will need to make that motion since it was not accepted as approved. So,
I make a motion
Ms. Brown?
regarding case number REZN 09211744, a request to rezone .88 acres of land located at 2019 Warm Springs Road. Current zoning is neighborhood commercial. Proposed zoning is general commercial. The proposed use is a convenience store with gas sales. Burnt Investments LL is the applicant. The property is located in Council District 8. Councilman Garrett, I disapprove the request. Do I need to tell why I disapprove it?
Yes, please.
I do not feel that the business will enhance the area. There will be traffic impact that will be undesirable, and the business is not compatible with the existing businesses, in my opinion.
Okay, we have a motion to deny. Do we have a second? All right, we have a couple of seconds down here. Any discussion? All those in favor to deny, raise your right hand. All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 to deny, and all those, and we have 2 that are, okay. All right, so we have a motion to deny on this case, and it carries. All right. All right, thank you very much for that one. We are going to move on to our next case, which is REZN 09211746. This is a request to rezone 148.54 acres of land located at 3294 Confetti Blush Drive. Current zoning is PMUD, which is Planned Mixed Use Development. Proposed zoning is RE1 Residential Estate, RMF1 Residential Multifamily 1, RO Residential Office. Proposed use is single-family, townhomes, apartments, natural area. White Grove LLC is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 2. Mr. Davis, and we'll hear from planning staff first on this case.
Yes, sir. The general land use is consistent for planning area A. Current land use designation is multifamily. The future land use is mixed use. It is compatible with the existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. Developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. Property is served by all city services. Average annual daily trips will increase to 3,130 trips. If used for residential and commercial uses, the level of service will remain at a level B. The site shall meet the codes and regulations of CCG for residential and commercial uses. There's no school impact, no buffer requirements, no Fort Bend recommendation, no DRI recommendation. The surrounding zoning to the north is RE1, to the south is PMUD, to the east is RO and RE1. To the west is PUD, RE1, and LMI. 55 property owners within 300 feet of the subject properties were notified of the rezoning request. The planning department received no calls and or emails regarding the rezoning. There's no additional information.
All right, thank you, Mr. Renfro. I do have one question. If you're adding all of this new residential, how come there's no school impact?
Typically with apartments, I believe it's
There will be no change in capacity from the current zoning to this zoning. So you addressed that back in 05, 07, 11, and maybe 15. I don't remember. This property's been here 4 or 5 times.
That's correct. Okay.
So there's no change regarding schools.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Thank you for that report. I appreciate it. So there's no other questions of planning? All right. Who's here to represent this case? If you will, please come state your name and address for the record, and we'll move forward.
My name is Genevieve Green with Woodruff Brokerage Company. My home address is 295 Old Bronner's Ferry Road, Hamilton, Georgia. I represent White Oak Grove in the development of the Old Town. And Mr. Johnson's absolutely correct. Can't hear me? Okay. When we zoned this previously, we were given quantities, and actually with what we're looking at now, we're proposing fewer quantities on the residential side. And really what we're doing, there's been a lot of confusion with the PMUD because you can do multiple uses in that, and there's been some confusion that perhaps in this area we would put commercial as opposed to something residential. That has never been the intent. The goal was always for this 148 acres to be residential use. But to simplify that confusion, we would like to take it out of PMUD and put it into what is residential uses. And actually, with this zoning and the quantities that we're proposing, you have 110 less residential units than we would have had under the PMUD zoning for the quantities that it was zoned for. We're not looking for anything to really change. I think you have this in your packet, but all of this, what has been developed already and what is out on Veterans Parkway will stay under the PMUD, and that's where the commercial has always planned to be. We're only looking at rezoning the 148 acres that is currently undeveloped. It's woods, it hasn't been developed at all, and this shows you how we would put in, this shows you the whole development with what's already there, also shows you the residential we would put in. All of this green is a natural area that will stay. That was exactly how it was proposed in the PMUD. And we have less units in this area, in this area, and this area that's being rezoned than what could have been done under the PMUD by 110. So actually, from a school standpoint or anything else, there would be less capacity as opposed to more.
Okay.
Any questions?
So it's going to be kind of like you have it now. It's going to be
Absolutely.
different.
We're not really looking at anything changing. Not all the covenants will stay in place. We're not looking at there being a change as far as how Old Town looks to the public. We're not looking at changing that. All of the conditions that were part of the zoning when it was PMUD, we've asked to stay in place in regard to widths, streets, all of that,
Okay.
Asking all of that to stay in place. We're just trying to clear up to make sure there's no confusion in regard to how this property can be used.
Got you. Okay. Commissioners, y'all have any questions of Ms. Green? Anyone? All right, thank you very much. Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this case? Please come forward at this time. All right, that's it. There's no one moving out there, so Commissioners, it's in your hands. We need a motion on this case. Yes, Ms. Weekly?
I would like to make a motion to approve case REZN 09071746, request to rezone 148.54 acres of land located at 3294 Confetti Blush Drive. Current zoning is primary mixed-use development. Proposed use is residential estate, residential multifamily, and residential office. This proposed zoning request is consistent with surrounding area.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Several seconds here. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed by the same, and it is unanimous. Thank you very much for your time today. All right, that concludes our cases for today. New business, we have a meeting on October the 20th, and we have 2 cases scheduled. Will that include the case that we missed today, Mr. Renfro, or?
It will not. That case will not be heard. The soonest that case can be heard is in November, but I'm still waiting to hear back from them how they want to move forward. So
Okay.
That one may be a while.
Gotcha. I hope you all got the email this morning regarding Dr. McCaskey and his daughters. I want you to keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers going forward during this time for him. I appreciate your attendance. I appreciate your attention, and we are dismissed. Thank you.